The Lagos airport hummed with life as travelers rushed past the arrival's gate. Among them walked a man whose appearance told a story of failure. Torn jacket, muddy shoes, a weathered face hidden behind an unkempt beard. But his eyes, sharp and calculating, revealed a different truth. Chinedu Okonkwo had returned home after a decade in America. 10 years of sacrifice, of building an empire from nothing, of lonely nights in a cold Chicago apartment dreaming of this moment. Now, standing on Nigerian soil, he carried not celebration in his heart, but a test. His phone buzzed. "Sir, the convoy is ready." His assistant Emeka's voice crackled through. "Security team is positioned. The press wants a statement." Chinedu stared at his reflection in the glass wall. Behind him, 3 black Range Rovers waited, their tinted windows concealing the wealth he'd amassed. Driver stood at attention. Yet he turned away from it all. "Not yet," he whispered. "Park 3 streets away. I need to see something first." He had shipped a package to himself weeks ago, a disguise carefully crafted for this moment. In a budget hotel room in Surulere, he transformed himself into the ghost of broken dreams. Torn clothing replaced his designer suit. Theatrical makeup added years to his face. Contact lenses dimmed the fire in his eyes. The man who stared back from the cracked mirror looked defeated, lost, poor. If her love was real, Chinedu muttered to his reflection, then nothing, not appearance, not circumstance, will change it. But if it was only for what I could provide, he left the sentence unfinished, afraid of what the answer might be. The compound gate creaked as he pushed it open. Everything looked smaller than he remembered, yet achingly familiar. The same mango tree where they'd carved their initials. The same red dust that stained everything. The same small bungalow where love had once lived. But what he saw next stopped his breath. Amara, his wife, stood in the yard washing clothes in a metal basin. But she wasn't alone. A man lounged on the veranda in Chinedu's favorite chair, feet propped up, laughing at something on his phone. He wore expensive sneakers, the kind Chinedu used to dream of affording before he left. "Baby, bring me water," the man called out carelessly. Amara smiled, that same smile Chinedu used to live for, and hurried inside. Chinedu's chest tightened. He forced himself forward, each step heavier than the last. "Amara?" His voice came out hoarse, broken. She spun around, eyes widening. The bowl of soapy water trembled in her hands. For 3 heartbeats, the world held still. Then her face twisted with disgust. "You," the word dripped with venom. "You dare show your face here after 10 years. My love, Chinedu began, but she cut him off with a bitter laugh. "Your love." She stepped closer, fury radiating from her. "Where was your love when I struggled alone? When the rent was due and my phone was silent? When neighbors whispered that you died or married abroad?" The man on the veranda stood up, stretching lazily. His cologne reached Chinedu even from a distance. Expensive, bold, everything Chinedu once wasn't. "This is the famous husband." The man chuckled. "The one who ran away to hustle? Amara, you suffered for this." Chinedu's hands shook. He'd prepared for many reactions, tears, joy, even anger. But this cold contempt? This stranger in his home, treating his wife with casual familiarity? "Please," he whispered, reaching toward her. "I can explain everything. I worked so hard. I built something for us. For us." Amara's laugh was sharp as broken glass. She lifted the basin of dirty water. "You built nothing but broken promises." She threw the water straight at him. The shock of cold, soapy water hit Chinedu like a physical blow. Clothes clung to his body. Soap stung his eyes. A wet shirt draped over his head like a crown of shame. He stumbled backward, gasping. The man on the veranda applauded slowly, mockingly. Through the water streaming down his face, Chinedu heard Amara speak in a voice he didn't recognize. Hard, final, dead. "Tund is more of a man than you ever were. He's been here. Present. Real. While you were chasing American dreams, he was building my reality." Tund descended from the veranda with the swagger of ownership. He slid his arm around Amara's waist, pulling her close. She didn't resist. She melted into him. Sorry, old man, Tun said with false sympathy. But this is my family now. Amara is carrying my child. We're getting married next month. Maybe you can come to the wedding? Oh wait, he laughed cruelly. You probably can't afford the aso. The words hit harder than any physical blow. Pregnant. Getting married. 10 years of fidelity, of sacrifice, of dreaming about coming home to her. All reduced to this moment of complete betrayal. Chinita dropped to his knees in the mud. Not because he was defeated, but because standing had become impossible. His disguised exterior matched his broken interior perfectly. Amara, please. 10 years. I counted every day. Every sacrifice was for you, for us. Get out, she screamed. Get out before I call the police. You abandoned me. You have no rights here. This house, this life, it's mine now. And tons. From inside the house, a radio played a gospel song about forgiveness. The irony wasn't lost on Chinidu. He tried to stand, but his legs wouldn't cooperate. Tund and Amara walked into the house together, their laughter echoing. The door slammed. Then, after a moment, a different sound emerged. Low moans, the rhythmic creak of bed springs, deliberate and loud enough to ensure he heard every moment of his humiliation. Chinidu pressed his palms into the mud to stop them from shaking. He lifted his face to the sky, feeling the afternoon sun beat down on him, and whispered one word that contained a lifetime of anguish. What? Hours seemed to pass, though it might have been only minutes. Neighbors peeked through curtains. A child pointed and was quickly pulled inside. Shame hung in the air thick as smoke. Finally, Chinidu reached into the secret pocket of his torn jacket. His fingers found a small phone hidden there. He dialed. Emeka, he said quietly. Bring them in. Sir, are you certain? His assistant's voice was tight with controlled anger. Say the word and... Now! The line went dead. Within 2 minutes, the quiet compound street transformed. The first Range Rover appeared at the corner, sleek and black as midnight. Then another. Then a third. Their engines purred with the sound of power and money. Neighbors' curtains twitched more frantically. The gates swung open. 6 men in sharp black suits emerged first, moving with military precision. They wore earpieces and sunglasses despite the late afternoon. They swept the compound with professional eyes, then nodded to the vehicles. Emeka stepped out, his face a mask of barely contained fury. He tried to maintain composure as he approached the muddy, soaked figure still kneeling in the dirt. Sir, he said, voice cracking slightly, your orders? The front door flew open. Amara stood frozen, a wrapper hastily tied around her body. Her mouth hung open. Behind her, Tund appeared, still buttoning his shirt, his swagger evaporating like morning mist. What is this? Amara's voice had lost all its earlier venom, replaced by confusion. Chinidu stood slowly. Water and mud dripped from his clothes, but something had changed in his posture. His spine straightened. His shoulders squared. The broken man vanished, replaced by something else entirely. He walked to the nearest Range Rover without a word. The door opened. He climbed inside. Through the tinted window, Amara caught only a dark silhouette. 10 seconds passed. 15. The compound held its breath. Then the door opened again. The man who emerged bore Chinidu's face, but nothing else was the same. The wig was gone, revealing neatly trimmed hair. The fake beard had disappeared. The torn clothes had been replaced by a suit that cost more than most cars. Italian wool, perfectly tailored, the kind of garment that whispered rather than shouted wealth. A watch caught the sunlight, throwing diamonds across the compound walls. Chinidu closed the car door with a soft click that sounded like thunder. Chinidu. Amara's voice was tiny, childlike. She took a step forward, then stopped. Her legs wouldn't work properly. The wrapper slipped slightly, but she didn't notice. I didn't know. You came disguised. How was I supposed to know? Chinidu looked at her the way one might look at a stranger. His eyes held no anger, no love, nothing but a vast emptiness that was somehow worse than any emotion. That, he said quietly, was the point. What do you mean? Her voice rose, panic creeping in. Chinidu, baby, please. Let me explain. Tund. He was just helping me. I was lonely. You were tested, Chinedu interrupted. His voice remained calm, which made the words cut deeper. I spent 10 years building an empire. 10 years of 16-hour days. 10 years of sleeping on floors when necessary. Eating one meal when money was tight. Working 3 jobs until I could start my own company. Do you know what kept me going? Amara's eyes filled with tears. She shook her head. The memory of your laughter. The promise we made under that mango tree. He pointed to the tree where their initials still scarred the bark. For richer or poorer, you said. In sickness and in health. Those were your words, Amara. I meant them, she sobbed. I did. But you left me. You were gone so long. You thought I had failed. You thought I was still the poor man who left. So you found someone else. His words were surgical, precise. You didn't betray me because I was gone. You betrayed me because I appeared to have nothing. Behind her, Tund tried to slip away toward the gate. 2 security guards materialized in his path. He froze. And you? Chinedu turned his attention to Tund. Did you enjoy sleeping in my bed? Eating food bought with money I sent? Wearing shoes I could never afford back then? Tund's face had gone gray. Boss, I didn't know. She said you abandoned her. She said what you wanted to hear. And you took what wasn't yours. Chinedu's voice remained eerily calm. But I'm not here for revenge. I'm here for clarity. He turned back to Amara. She had collapsed to her knees now, the same spot where he'd knelt earlier. Poetic justice, Chinedu thought distantly. Chinedu, please, she begged, crawling toward him. Please forgive me. I'll change. I'll be better. We can start again. The baby isn't real. Elite, there is no baby. It was just another test you failed. He took a step back as she reached for his shoes. Stop. The command froze her. This house, Chinedu continued, is in my name. I've been paying the rent for 10 years. Did you know that? Every month, money came from my account. You thought it was government aid. It was me, ensuring you had a home to betray me in. Amara's sobs became wails. I'm not taking it from you, Chinedu said. Consider it my final gift. Live here. Build whatever life you can. But do it without me. No. She screamed. No, you can't leave me like this. I'm your wife. We're married. You can't just. Can't what? Exactly what you did to me. Exactly what you were planning to do. Selling this house to start fresh with him. Chinedu nodded toward Tund. Yes, I heard everything. The walls are thin. Emeka stepped forward, holding documents. Sir, should we proceed with the legal matters? Chinedu hesitated. For just a moment, his mask cracked. Pain flickered across his face, raw, deep, the kind that comes from dreams dying. Then it was gone. Yes, prepare the divorce papers. She can keep the house and whatever is in it. I want nothing from this life. Chinedu, Amara's scream pierced the afternoon. You'll regret this. You hear me? You'll come crawling back when you realize no one will love you like I did. He paused at the car door. Without turning around, he spoke one last time. You never loved me, Amara. You loved what you thought I would become. But you couldn't see what I was becoming, even when I stood right in front of you. That tells me everything I need to know. The convoy pulled away, leaving Amara screaming in the dust. Tund tried to comfort her, but she shoved him away violently. This is your fault, she shrieked at him. Your fault. He was rich, a billionaire, and you made me chase him away. Tund backed away, hands raised. You said he abandoned you. You said, get out, get out. I don't want to see your face. As the Range Rovers disappeared around the corner, neighbors emerged from their homes. Whispers spread like wildfire. That was Chinedu, the one who went to hustle. He's a billionaire now. And she threw him out? With that useless Tund? Jai, that woman has lost her destiny. Inside the lead SUV, Chinedu sat in silence. Emeka wanted to speak, but recognized that some pain required silence. The city passed by outside, Lagos in all its chaotic beauty. Street vendors, yellow buses, children playing football in the street. Life continuing, indifferent to personal tragedy. Where to, sir? The driver asked quietly. Chinedu closed his eyes. Home. My real home. They drove toward Victoria Island, toward the life he'd built, toward a future that felt suddenly very empty despite all its luxury. The next 3 months moved like a storm across Lagos. Chinedu's return dominated every newspaper, every blog, every conversation. Forbes featured him, the billionaire who came home. His tech company, which had revolutionized mobile banking across Africa, became the talk of the business world. Investors fought for meetings. Politicians sought his favor. Young entrepreneurs quoted his speeches. But success, as Chinedu learned, was a spotlight that revealed everything. Within weeks, the story of his disguised return leaked. Someone at the airport had recognized him. Someone else had filmed the confrontation at the compound. The video went viral. Amara throwing water, Chinedu kneeling in mud, the dramatic reveal with the Range Rovers. The court of public opinion split down the middle. He tested his wife? That's psychological manipulation. She betrayed him. She deserved to know the truth. 10 years is too long to expect faithfulness. Marriage vows don't have an expiration date. Amara became infamous overnight. She tried to give interviews to explain, but each appearance made things worse. She changed her story repeatedly, first claiming she didn't know it was him, then admitting she did but felt justified, then blaming Tund entirely, then claiming Chinedu had abandoned her first. Tund disappeared completely. Rumors said he'd fled to Ghana. Meanwhile, Chinedu threw himself into work. His company expanded into telecommunications, then renewable energy. He gave speeches at universities, funded scholarships, built schools in rural areas. He became exactly what Lagos loved, a success story with a tragic past. But success couldn't fill the void. 6 months after his return, Chinedu stood in his penthouse apartment overlooking Lagos Harbor. The view was spectacular, lights stretching to the horizon, ships glittering on dark water. Everything he'd dreamed of achieving while shivering in Chicago winters. Yet he felt nothing. "Sir," Emeka's voice came from behind him. "The charity gala is in an hour. Your speech is ready." "I'm not going." Emeka paused. In 6 months of working together, his boss had never missed an obligation. "Sir, the education minister will be there. The press. It's important for." "I don't care." Silence stretched between them. Finally, Emeka spoke carefully. "Permission to speak freely, sir?" Chinedu nodded without turning around. "You're destroying yourself. Not because of what you did, but because you're using work to avoid feeling it. You're becoming what you fought so hard not to be, empty inside despite being full outside. What would you have me do?" Chinedu's voice was hollow. "Forgive her? Take her back? Pretend those 10 years of loyalty meant nothing?" "No, sir. I'd have you heal. Properly. Not by building walls, but by letting yourself feel the betrayal, the anger, the grief. Then letting it go. Otherwise, she's still controlling your life, just from a distance." Chinedu turned. His assistant's face showed genuine concern. "I loved her," Chinedu whispered. "God help me, I still do. That's what makes this unbearable. If I could hate her, it would be easier. But I remember her laugh. I remember how she'd sing while cooking. I remember promises made under a mango tree when we were too young to understand what forever really meant. Then remember that person died." Emeka said gently, "The woman you loved? She's gone. Who's left is someone different. Someone you don't know. Mourn who she was, and let go of who she became." Before Chinedu could respond, his phone rang. Private number. He almost didn't answer. Then something made him press accept. Chinedu. The voice was barely recognizable. Hoarse, weak, desperate. "Amara?" Heavy breathing. Then, "I'm dying." His heart stopped. "What?" "The clinic. Federal Medical Center. Please. I need to tell you something." Before, the line went dead. Emeka saw his boss's face go pale. "Sir, get the car. Now." They raced through Lagos traffic, sirens clearing the way. Chinedu's mind spun. Was it a trick? Another manipulation? But something in her voice, that thread of genuine fear, kept him moving forward. The hospital was chaos. Emergency room packed with patients. The smell of disinfectant and desperation. A nurse led them to a private ward where Amara lay in a bed that seemed too big for her diminished form. She lost weight. Her skin had a gray tinge. Medical equipment beeped around her like mechanical mourners. When she turned her head and saw him, tears spilled down her hollow cheeks. "You came," she whispered. Chinedu stood at the foot of the bed, maintaining distance. "What's wrong with you?" "Liver failure. Complications from—" She looked away. "I tried to end it. After you left. The pills damaged something inside. The doctors say I have maybe 2 months. Maybe less. Amara, let me finish. Please." She struggled to sit up. "I need to say this while I can. What I did was unforgivable. I know that now. I was so angry at you for leaving. So lonely. When Tun showed interest, it felt good to be wanted. To not be the abandoned wife everyone pitied. So you betrayed everything we built." "Yes." The admission came out as a sob. "Yes. And I'm so sorry. Not because you're rich, though God knows that makes it worse. I'm sorry because I broke something sacred. I broke us. I broke the woman you loved. And now I'm dying without ever having the chance to be better." Chinedu's throat tightened. Despite everything, seeing her like this hurt in ways he hadn't expected. "Why did you call me here?" "To ask for forgiveness. Not to reconcile. I know that's impossible. But so you can be free. So you don't spend your life carrying hatred for me. I don't want to be the wound that never heals." She reached out a trembling hand. "Chinedu, please. Forgive me. Not for me. For you." He stared at her hand. 10 years of love. Months of betrayal. Now this, a deathbed plea. "I forgive you," he said finally. The words felt like breathing out poison. "I forgive you, Amara. Not because you deserve it, but because Emeka was right. I can't carry this anymore." She wept openly now. "Thank you. Thank you." He turned to leave. "Chinedu." Her voice stopped him at the door. "One more thing. The baby." His jaw tightened. "You said there was no baby." "I lied then. But there is now. 3 months. I found out last week." She touched her stomach. "Tons. He's gone. Won't answer my calls. And I'm dying. This child, will you?" "Will I what? Save it? When I'm gone. Give a chance." The request was so absurd, so impossible, that Chinedu almost laughed. "You want me to raise another man's child? The child of my betrayal? I want you to save an innocent life from dying because of my mistakes." Her voice gained strength. "You were tested and proved loyal. I was tested and failed. Don't let this baby fail because of me." Chinedu stood frozen, torn between horror and something else he couldn't name. "I'll think about it," he said finally, and walked out. Amara died 6 weeks later. The funeral was small, just a few neighbors, some distant relatives who showed up out of obligation, and one billionaire who stood at the back in dark sunglasses, watching them lower his ex-wife into red Nigerian earth. He filed for divorce immediately after the hospital visit. She'd signed the papers without protest. Their marriage ended legally 3 days before her death. But he made arrangements. Private hospital care for her final weeks. Pain medication. A room with a view. She died comfortable, if not happy. And he'd kept his promise. The baby was saved. A C-section in her final hours. A boy, premature but healthy. Chinedu stood in the hospital nursery, staring at the tiny human in the incubator. Dark skin, full head of hair, fists clenched as if ready to fight the world. "This is insane," Emeka said beside him. "Sir, you don't have to do this. You don't owe her anything." "I don't owe her," Chinedu agreed. "But he's innocent. He's not your child." "No, but he's a child. And children shouldn't pay for their parents' sins." 2 years later, Chinedu Okonkwo stood at that same mango tree, the one where he and Amara had carved their initials. Beside him, a toddler played in the dust, laughing at butterflies. The house was different now. Chinedu had renovated it, turned it into a community center for abandoned children. The boy, whom he'd named Chidi, meaning God exists, would grow up knowing his story, knowing who his parents were, knowing everything. No lies. "Papa, look." Chidi held up a small stone, grinning. "Papa." The word still caught Chinedu off guard sometimes. But it fit better than he'd expected. He'd never remarried. Perhaps he would someday. But for now, raising this child who wasn't his, who represented his deepest wound, had become his greatest healing. "I see it," Chinedu said, kneeling down. "Very shiny. Like your car. Better than my car. Chitty giggled and ran off to find more treasures. Emeka approached, tablet in hand. Sir, the foundation numbers. We've put 15,000 children through school this year. Applications are overwhelming. Then we expand. Find more funding. Build more schools. And your personal life? Sir, forgive me, but you're 38. Living alone except for a child who isn't yours. Working constantly. I'm not alone. I have Chitty. I have purpose. I have peace. Chinedu stood, brushing dust from his jeans. Maybe someday, someone will come along who passes my test without knowing it's a test. Who loves me poor or rich, present or absent. Until then, this is enough. You're a better man than most, sir. Chinedu watched Chitty chase butterflies in the afternoon sun. No, I'm just a man who learned that betrayal teaches you what loyalty is worth. That forgiveness isn't about forgetting. It's about refusing to let the past poison your future. And that sometimes the family you choose matters more than the family you're born into. Still, Emeka pressed. Don't you sometimes wish things had been different? That she'd passed the test? Chinedu was quiet for a long moment. Then he smiled. Not a bitter smile, but one of genuine peace. Every day. But if she had, I wouldn't have learned what I now know. That wealth without loyalty is poverty. That love tested is love proven. And that the greatest victory isn't in revenge or even forgiveness. It's in choosing to heal, to grow, to become someone worthy of the blessing you almost received. Deep thoughts for a Thursday afternoon, sir. Deep lessons from a shallow betrayal. They stood together in comfortable silence, watching Chitty play where Chinedu and Amara had once dreamed of watching their own children play. Life was strange that way. You never ended up exactly where you planned, but sometimes if you stayed open to it, you ended up where you needed to be. The mango tree rustled in the breeze. Somewhere in its bark, two sets of initials still remained, carved by young people who believed forever was forever. They'd been wrong about that, but maybe that was okay. Maybe forever wasn't about time, it was about truth. And Chinedu had found his truth. Not in the betrayal, not in the wealth, not even in the dramatic confrontation, but in this moment, watching a child laugh in the sun, choosing healing over bitterness, choosing hope over despair. That was the real story. Not about a billionaire's revenge, but about a man's redemption, and the unexpected form it took. Come on, Chitty, Chinedu called. Time for lunch. Can we have jollof rice? We can have whatever you want. Even ice cream? After the jollof rice. The boy cheered and ran to him, small arms wrapping around Chinedu's leg. And in that moment, standing in the compound where his heart had been broken, Chinedu realized something profound. He'd come home looking for loyalty and found betrayal. But in choosing forgiveness and unexpected fatherhood, he'd found something better. He'd found himself. The convoy of Range Rovers sat parked at the gate, as always. The wealth, the power, the success, it was all still there. But it no longer defined him. What defined him now was simpler. A child's laughter, a community center full of hope, and the hard-won knowledge that the best revenge is living well, and the best healing is helping others heal. As they walked toward the house, Chitty looked up with innocent eyes and asked, "Papa, why are you smiling?" Chinedu squeezed the small hand in his. "Because I just realized I won." Won what? Everything that matters. And in the fading Lagos afternoon, under the shade of a mango tree that had witnessed both love and betrayal, that answer was enough.